So here's the real question. How do dentists like you, who aren't willing to let insurance dictate how you will run your practice, who want to create incredibly profitable practices without sacrificing your time or sanity, how do you create the strategies to ensure your practice not only survives, but thrives in the 21st century? That's the blaring question. And Dr. Steve Schlintz is here to provide the answers. Welcome to Dental Practice Freedom Radio.
What is up, everybody? This is Dr. Steve Schlintz. I want to welcome you to another episode of Dental Practice Freedom Radio. And I have to apologize profusely. It feels like it's been months since I've recorded an episode, and it probably has been over a month since I've actually gotten an episode out. And just a lot of stuff going on and a lot of movement, a lot of adding elements to my coaching business. And that's been great. And just trying to finish the year strong in my own practice. And it was our best year ever from a production standpoint, also from a collection standpoint. And it was a lot of bread and butter this year, actually, believe it or not, which was, it's good and bad. I mean, it is what it is, right? And so we're in the practice. It was just a lot of routine dentistry this year and solidifying that portion of our practice. And as you guys know, I talk about this in previous podcast episodes. It's building a practice within a practice. And when you do that, there will be inevitable times that you go back to traditional dentistry. And then there will be times that you move forward towards, whether it's complete wellness or whatever you're doing in your practice that's outside of the traditional realm. Now, you might be listening to this and you say, all I do is traditional dentistry. That's totally fine. But as you know, as I talk about, I think it's really important for dentists to have some point of differentiation, especially if you're either a solo provider or maybe you're in a small group practice and you're trying to stay above the competitive landscape. I'm not talking about competing. I want to actually have you guys create the practice you want to create. And in order to do that, you have to start to differentiate yourself. You cannot be status quo and expect to be able to continue to do what you're doing. So that's actually what I've been working on. And one of the really fascinating parts about the practice is I don't pretend, even as a coach, to say that my practice is perfect. It by no means is. There's a lot of things that I can work on. But one of the big things is always trying to create a practice for me that allows me to help other dentists as well, where the coaching comes in. And so my practice has always been built around getting it as productive as possible in as short a time period as possible, so that I have more time to coach, more time to speak, more time to help, more time to create courses and programs that are really built around helping individual practice providers that want to move towards a fee-for-service direction actually be able to do that, put a new patient process in place that actually works, moves patients towards a more complete care model. And it's been a struggle for me, to be honest, this last year to be able to mesh both. And I've felt, do I need to sell my practice? And what does that look like? And I've been there, and maybe I get another associate, and maybe I just keep doing status quo things. Maybe I work harder in my practice. It's been a very fluctuating year on that end. And I've gotten to the point now where I'm just kind of open. I'm very, very open as to what happens in my practice happens in my practice. I'm down to 3 days a week, and actually in January, we will be going down to pretty much 2 days clinically, even though I'm in my practice 3 days. And the goal is to keep the office production at the same level. But we have now went from 4 days to 3 days to 2.5 days. And I'm going to continue to push that trend to see if we can keep the production up while moving down in days. And, there's some risk with that. There's some risk with anything that you do, but I love being out and helping other dentists. And I feel like that's my highest point of contribution in the dental community. And what I want to do is hop on and just kind of let you guys know about one of the things that I've been working on. And this is not a sales pitch, but it is important. And it's a concept I'm going to talk a lot about in the next few podcast episodes. And going into 2019 is this idea of getting your team involved for you to increase your case acceptance. As you guys know, one of the programs that I have, Dental Sales Secrets, is all built around comprehensive case acceptance. I've been out there. I know what works, what doesn't work. It takes a totally different environment. It takes a totally different office structure to consistently do comprehensive care, especially in the wellness arena. I'm not talking about, let's say, all-on-4 implants, which would be great, but I'm not talking about that. And I'm not talking about cosmetic dentistry per se. I'm talking about wellness-based dentistry where patients are moving to try to get, past a level of disease and eliminate decay from the rest of their lives and eliminate periodontal disease and eliminate TMJ and eliminate occlusal problems and really then shift their attention to more holistic style care. And I don't mean voodoo stuff. I mean getting off of dependency on drugs, getting off of bad food and, being healthier. And what does that look like in the dental landscape? I think us as dentists, we have such a unique opportunity with sleep apnea and being able to diagnose patients at a much earlier stage in the game. I'm just fascinated by that idea of dentistry that I've always said, and I've told my patients, and I tell my team this, like our mission statement, our battle cry is that I want to get our patients so healthy they never have to see me again. And I know when I say that, dentists can look at me and they go, well, you wouldn't have a job. No, that's not true. Like I'm never going to be not able to see patients. There are so many human beings on this planet that there is no way that that's ever going to happen. And that is my focus. That's my focus in my practice. And that's, it is hard sometimes when I'm not in my practice 24/7 and I'm not thinking about my practice 24/7 and I'm gravitating attention and energy to the coaching side of things. It does get hard to be able to juggle both of those businesses, but they do play off of each other. And I think that's very, very important. As I'm talking, I want to share some light on you on some of my clients, what I'm currently doing, and then some insights you can get in your own practice. My question for you is always, as you start to move as the dentist towards 2019, we all have great ideas. We're either going to buy equipment towards the end of the year to maximize our tax savings, or maybe we're moving into 2019 and we want to learn occlusion, or maybe we want to learn something more on airway and its impact on the dentition and things like that. I want you to take a step back and ask yourselves, how much does my team really know what it is I do and why I do it? And the reason I bring this up is because I think we have this preconceived notion that our team, because they're around us, they know what we do, and that's not actually true. And I've seen this now. One of the things that I'm doing with Dental Sales Secrets is I'm going into offices and I'm actually spending time with offices and I'm building out their new patient process and I'm getting them on the same page as the doctor. And that's the first step, is just like literally just saying, let's just get on the same page here. What are we trying to accomplish as a team? And then I want to move them towards a more wellness-oriented approach, because that's typically why people work with me one-on-one. Dental Sales Secrets is much more generalized, but it can be applied in a much more unique one-on-one fashion. And so I've had the unique opportunity to be able to go in these offices and learn with these dentists in their practice and learn what their teams are telling me and get feedback and help them. And one thing I'm seeing over and over and over and over and over again is that the dentist and the team, although they might be great buddy and everybody's great and we have team building, here's the problem with all this stuff. It's not built on a common goal. And the team doesn't actually understand why the practice is unique and different. And because of that, it's very hard to get everybody rowing in the same direction. And so what happens is the dentist will sit and go, well, my team should care more, right? Well, here's a newsflash. Your team's not going to probably care that much more, right? It's a reality. I always joke with dentists, I'm like, listen, if your team cared as much as you do, because I wish my team cared as much as I did. Listen, if your team cared as much as you did, they probably would go back to dental school, become a dentist, and own it themselves. So you should be thankful that they don't care as much, because they're going to stay employed with you, right? But the reality is we want to say that, and there's some truth to that. You want a team that's engaged. But you have to ask yourself, am I giving them the tools for them to be successful? Right? And we typically will set production goals, and maybe we do a team bonus, and that'll give us short-term bump in productivity. But what's the long-term goal here? Why is this team gravitating towards this office? Why does this team care so much about the patients? How can I further enhance their ability to be able to relay the information that I'm giving them to the patients so the patients can say yes to whatever dentistry it is that we're all trying to shoot for here? See, I'm of firm opinion that most patients will say yes if given a choice, if they understood the value of what it is you're trying to do. And the liaison is the team. But the dentist is either trying to work directly with the patient or they're focused on the wrong things like insurance involvement and things like that. And the reality is the more they spend time with their team and the more they build this not just camaraderie, but the structure in the office to allow the team to be able to talk more about the dentistry that the doctor does, the more successful the doctor will be. So you really do have to think about this. How much time am I spending training my team? And here's the newsflash, because I've had it happen to me. The worst person for me, the worst person to train my team in my practice is ding, 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 me. And it's not because I can't train a team. It's because when I come with my team, they always think that there's like not a hidden agenda, but there's like something, I'm still boss to them. So it's hard for them to be open and honest. It's hard for them to be transparent. It's hard for them to move beyond certain things. And so as a dentist, I don't care if it's through me, I don't care what it is, but like go get your team some training that is going to be effective in delivering what it is you need to get done. And stop trying to train, because what happens is if you try to train your team, that's good for simple things. But if you don't take a step back and actually bring your team either to a retreat or you have somebody come speak to them and you really work with them in depth on those things, the office meetings will turn mostly into a gripe session. There's nothing that comes out of those meetings that's productive. So I was telling a team the other day, I said, if you're gonna do team meetings, do it very, very simply. You've got to take this 80-20 rule and apply it to your own meetings. And they said, well, what do you mean by that? I said, what I mean by that is typically in an office meeting, 80% of the time, you will be reacting to patients you don't want and trying to put policies and systems or whatever you're going to put in your office to combat these 20% of patients you don't actually want, right? So 80% of your time in an office meeting goes to those 20% of patients that you don't actually want, right? How many times do you see that in your own practice? You start the meeting with like, oh, Susie Q didn't pay her bill, and we're going to create a policy and system to change that, right? Or I can't believe this insurance did this, and we're going to have to change something to combat that. And if you actually did the studies, Susie Q is probably 5% of your headache, and that insurance is probably 5% of your headache, yet we spend most of the time in our office meetings structured around those 5% of things or 10% or 20% of things you don't actually want. So what you want to do is 80-20 your time in reverse. And what you want to do is spend 80% of your office meeting on creating the structures that in the future will create the practice you want, right? How do you market effectively to your ideal patient? How do you create systems that move you more towards wellness if that's what you're looking for, right? Spend time in your office meetings creating what you want. Don't spend time reacting to what you do not want. It is so simple. You've probably heard it 3,000 times, but I want you to think about this in your own practice and in your own team meetings. Am I doing that? Or are we getting on a gripe session immediately? What's wrong? And then if that's happening, you got to change your structure. You got to change your structure of a team meeting. Last 20% of the meeting, we can talk about all the things we don't want and how to eliminate them. Because by the end of it, they're going to be so tired that they just aren't going to talk about it. Right? Focus on what you want. Get your team involved. Start to work on these things in 2019. Set a really big goal. This is one of the things I work with my team, all my teams. You got to tell me what you really want. If you can tell me you want to increase your productivity by 30%, we can get that done, no problem. That's not an issue at all. You want to increase your profit by 20%, we could totally do that. You want to have more new patients, you want to increase your patient percentage by 50%, we can totally do that. You just got to be very crystal clear in telling me what you want so I can help you get it. Right? I think any good coach will do that, right? Because these skills are applicable against any goal. A lot of the stuff I teach, it's Bob Proctor based, right? It is all based on this law of setting the right goals, putting yourself in the right position, getting your team on board so that these goals can be accomplished. And the key is your team needs to know where you're going. Most of the time, dentists do not fill their team in with where they're going, and as a result, they never get there. So really, in 2019, I want you to put an emphasis on your team. I want you to put an emphasis on creating the type of practice you truly want to be in and what that looks like for you. Emotionalize that. Get in that place. You know, whether you draw a vision board out or whether you just internalize a goal. For me, it's always having a goal. I write my goals out morning, night, carry my goals around with me all the time. And when I lose touch by not doing that. You need to refocus on these things that you want, and you need to take your best asset, which is your team, and really focus and prioritize those team meetings towards moving towards what you want, helping your team get on the same page, helping your team understand what you do. And I guarantee you when you start to do that, your practice will change literally overnight. So good to be back on this podcast. I'm going to pop some episodes out here in the next few days for sure. Hope you enjoyed this one. As always, if you enjoy what you're listening to in the podcast, I encourage you to leave me a rating, leave me a review on iTunes. That'd be great. I'm currently creating a new page for Dental Sales Secrets, so there's no real link right now. I think if you went to dentalsalessecrets.com, you can still register for the webinar, but that's new and exciting. It's coming out. And as always, if you ever want to personally reach out to me, you can send me an email at admin@mountainskycoaching.com. And I look forward to hearing from you. You guys take care. See ya.
Thank you so much for listening to this episode on Dental Practice Freedom Radio with Dr. Steve Schlitz. We'll see you on the next episode.